What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and yeah, we're going to finish up week number 3 of the XFL season. But before we do, if you haven't heard the news, the Orlando Guardians are going to get real interesting here. Why is that? Well, first and foremost, they signed Quinton Flowers. So Quinton Flowers, the former South Florida quarterback, the former Vipers quarterback back in 2020, is back in Florida. And he's going to be playing back again with the green-colored team again there. So I think that that's going to be great for fans there in Florida. And I think he's going to be a great addition to this team that is really now starting to look really, really interesting, especially after what we got this past week with them. And one of the things that I do want to mention, because some of you guys are newer watchers of my videos, and I do appreciate that. But one of the things that I've said from the get-go, not only am I a supporter of the XFL, the USFL, but I'm a big proponent of do not label things. One of the things that I am never about limiting what you can do and where you're at. I'm not about not looking at real expectations. You know me. I'm very honest in my assessment of where things are. So that isn't where, I want to focus. I want to focus on getting better. And so I never want to leave the ceiling to where I can't go any higher. So when we start labeling these leagues, that's why I like to look at it as like spring football. I don't like to look at it as minor leagues, developmental leagues. I don't want NFL light. I don't want preseason light. I want football. That's what I want. I don't want this where guys are trying to go out there to show what they can do so they can go somewhere else. Make these games good. I want to watch the guys play the best football they can in this space. The guys that do better, that go other places, are guys that are innovators, guys that take things to the next level. Listen, I mean, I'm not going to try to pretend that something isn't something that it's not, or it is something that it isn't. However you want to look at that. The reality of it is I'm a guy in my wife's basement who sits here and does videos for you guys because I love doing it. I'm not going to, pretend that I'm, some guy on ESPN or, I'm some pundit or some big YouTuber. I'm not. I understand that. But I'm not going to sit here though and label myself as anything other than a guy who's having fun, putting his thoughts out there and trying my best to get better at what I'm doing. And that's all I'm saying here is that I want this league to just be a place where guys are just trying to play football, continue their career, make money playing football. I get to watch more football, and we all get to have better football. That's just what it is I want. I don't want these labels of minor league, getting guys back to the NFL, this or that. I got something on my mouth and it's driving me batty. But that stuff drives me nuts. Developmental, minor league, whatever it is, you don't need to label things. I'm not one for labels. I'm one for about evaluating where you're at. Yes, the XFL is not where the NFL is at, but who knows what could be as things progress. People might actually, believe it or not, especially in our society that likes things in small little doses, that has a hard time of watching things for a long period of times, might actually tend to like this better, to where this might get bigger. But if you put a ceiling on it that you can never get above, then what happens is that you've limited yourself. And I never want to limit myself with anything. I want to try to keep striving to get better, striving to create better content, striving to be a better person. And everything that I do, I'm trying to always to get better and figure out ways to do that and to be innovative and bring things in a new way and a new light. And that's how this league needs to be. And that's what I actually do love about what Danny and The Rock are really trying to do. You can definitely tell that they're trying to be innovative with what they're doing, understanding the product that people are wanting and trying to see how they can, make that product better and also amplify what's going on. So, long story short, I know I kind of went on a rant there, but I don't like labels. I don't like labeling yourself and pigeonholing things into a certain thing. I like to just put things out there, and if you like it, great. If not, tell me what it is I need to do to fix, and we'll go from there with it. Now, back to this whole thing with the Guardians. I really do, after this game, and we're going to transition right into reviewing these last two games. I thought that this game, production-wise, no issues, no problems. They do things and they do it well there in Arlington. They have a really good setup. So this Guardians team, though, they really kind of impressed me to where I think that this is a team that could win some games now. They played the whole game throughout, and I thought that was fantastic. I thought that it was great. It wasn't really what they wanted, but they showed they could play throughout the whole game, and I thought it really started with the head coach. You could definitely tell that Buckley really was taking this game differently, and he made some changes, and they didn't throw everything completely out, but they made the changes that they thought they needed to really turn this team around. And I thought that they turned this team around, and it really goes to show you that really one guy can make a difference. And really the offensive line, they just shifted one guy. They put in I think it's Boyko, if I'm not mistaken. I think is the Brett Boyko or Boko. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but brought him in, put him on the left tackle. The guy that was playing left tackle moved him to right tackle because that's really where he plays. And if the techniques are similar, but they're opposite. So if you're a guy who's normally playing a left tackle, playing techniques for left tackle and have to switch that over and play it for right tackle and vice versa. That is a very difficult thing to where having the other guy there, it makes sense, and it showed a difference in that team. That offense felt more competent. It felt better as the game went on. You could tell too with their play calling, things were a lot easier, simpler. It was a lot easier to get out and to keep these things rolling in that with it. I thought that Paxton Lynch did a good job with this whole offense. And really, that Arlington defense is an excellent defense. I don't know what it is with them. They figure out ways to get the ball turned over. And that's a defense that is just going to win this team games. If that offense decides that it's not going to screw things up and give up takeaways and turn over the ball, this is a team, regardless of the offense being dismal, is going to win over half of their games. They just are going to be. And if they can figure out that offense, which I think is one or two pieces away from being a really dynamic offense, they're going to be scary in the South. So this is they're doing what they're doing against a really, really good defense. And as I'm looking at the offense, so, breaking this thing down, looking at it, Lynch was 19 for 31 for 219 yards, no touchdowns, no interception. He was sacked 4 times. And, the thing for me here is that he in this offensive scheme is not enough of a threat, meaning, yeah, he'll go out there and he'll get you some yards. He's going to get you some things, but it never really makes the defense commit to trying to stop him. They can either pin their ears back or they can either sit back in coverage, which really limits them and their ability to really extend the field. And I think if they get a guy like Quinton Flowers in here, I think it'd really open up that offensive game the whole way, open up the field for them, and also give those running backs who have been running fairly decently. I mean, if Martin can hold on to the ball, I think that he's man, Taylor might be the guy going forward just because Martin is having struggles holding onto the ball. And I've said this before, and you're going to hear me say it multiple times, that it has nothing to do with talent, why these guys are not in the NFL. It has to do with mistakes, not being able to hold onto the ball, drops. Those type of things are what are keeping them from going to the quote unquote next level. I hate those words, and I hate the way that is. But, to further their career is kind of how I would put it. But Taylor is the guy, and if you can get a guy like Quinton Flowers in there who can really beat you with their feet and makes that defense have to respect that run ability, all of the sudden now Taylor gets open. Those 3.5 yards he's averaging a game now turn into 5. And you get more openness with it. And those, they have some really dynamic wide receivers. You got Rodgers, you got Rambo, you've got Latimer leading the way with the way that he plays, and then Lenore now coming on too. You've got some really dynamic guys to where if they can kind of, open things up, these guys have already shown that they can really catch the ball and do some great things. This offense is going to be electric. And you kind of figured it was going to take some time because they had a younger coaching staff. Not everybody's on the staff is young, but Ford, he hasn't really been in this position. These guys are all newer to the positions they're in. And so, there's going to be some learning curves, and hats off to them as being able to go through and make adjustments. And so, that is encouraging for me for this team. It's going to make this team interesting to watch. And yeah, this team has, even though they're 0-3, has some life that I see in them. And turning to the Renegades, that's really kind of the story with them. They're still trying to figure things out on offense. That, like I said, the defense is fine. And two, I do want to mention on the Guardians side of things, I think that their defense is good. Before we move on to the Renegades, their defense, I think, is a good defense. I think it's kind of one of those things, though, is that it's kind of like when you take something and you keep bending it, you can only bend it so much before it breaks. And I feel like that the offense has just been so off kilter and really hasn't been holding onto the ball. And if you look this game, they actually had possession for most of the game, for over half of the game, as opposed to the other team. And it really paid a difference in their defense. You saw their defense was able to sustain more. They weren't as tired because they weren't out there for the whole game, because the offense was giving them some time to rest and giving them that ability to be, to not take so many bends, and breaking, so to say. So, like I said, all the way around with that Guardians team, I'm looking, I think that they've got some real nice upside. So looking here to the Renegades, they made the great decision with going to Slaughter. I think he's the guy that needs to be the quarterback for this team. I mean, he showed it. He was 18 for 23 for 124 yards, not a lot of yards. The average was, 5.4 yards. You need more than that. He had 1 touchdown, sacked only twice, which wasn't bad. The issue here isn't the running backs, even though Devion Smith got hurt, and you can kind of tell he wasn't running like his normal self in this game. He just kind of felt he got hurt, and then you could tell he was off. It was kind of nice seeing Kenneth Farrow get in there and do some work. He did fairly decent in there. But it's the receiving core. I feel like they're like a really dynamic receiver away from being a really, really good offense. I think Vaughns is an okay wide receiver, but he's not your star guy. Sal Calinella is going to be a really good guy to use, but you need that dynamic guy to take the pressure off of there. And they need to find somebody, and I just don't think that they right now currently have it on the roster. If they can maybe figure out how to get somebody to fall into that dynamic wide receiver role to take, the pressure off of Vaughns and off of Sal Calinella, I think that this team can really explode and be really, really good on offense. I think that's what they're lacking. And this defense, man, they are good. The way that they fly to the ball, whether it be Will Hill, Will Clark, whether it be Payne, be Ballsby, those guys are just flying to the ball, and they're creating turnovers, and they're giving their offense opportunities. This is a team, like I said earlier, is a team that is poised. They are poised to win over half their games, and if this offense can get going, this is going to be a force of a team to be reckoned with. That will be giving the Roughnecks in the playoffs a really, really rough time. Like that? All right. Well, that's the first game, and hopefully that's a good segue to talk about the last game of the night. So let's go ahead and let's start. Let's finish up with the nightcap. And it was the San Antonio Brahmas going into that hostile environment there in Houston. And this game, it was kind of one of those games where it kind of was what I thought it would be. The Brahmas are a decent team, but they just went up against a better team. And you saw how it played out. I mean, right now, I don't know what you can do to stop this Roughnecks team. They have to either, unless somebody gets hurt, they're playing really, really well. I mean, there's nothing more to say than that. Things happen throughout the game, and they just kind of figure them out and continue to find ways to win. That defense is just insane. So Jack Cohn, and I know I say Jake Cohn, and I apologize. He looks like a Jake, does he not? It just when I see him, I want to say Jake and not Jack. He just looks like a Jake to me. I get it. Jack is a guy who would play with poker chips in his hotel room, and Jack it doesn't seem like that he would do that. I don't know. He was 8 for 20 in this game. That defense tore him alive. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, only 64 total yards. They couldn't really get a whole lot going on in this game. It was dismal because that defense is just, oh man, it just was. It's just that it's rough. I mean, they are that good. We had, going through looking at this. So total yards, 162 total yards to 374. Just insane. Now, when it came to the thing that was interesting to me was the turnovers. They each had, 1 turnover in this game, and you would have thought by the way that this game was that they would have turned the ball over multiple times, but really it really was just the 1 turnover in the game, and that really was was about it. I thought that that the Roughnecks really they jumped, they both kind of came out, threw their punches, then the Roughnecks did what they do, scored bunches, score big, and it pretty much was pretty much over. After that, I don't know what more else do you say about it. Brandon Silvers, he had his traditional 1 pick like he always does. He seems to find the defense at least once a game, but when you're 24 for 35 for 278 yards and throw 3 touchdowns, I mean, you can do that all day long. Cole McDonald got into a little bit more here, but the way that they do it with Cole McDonald and Silvers is what I want to see with Teamu and King going forward. Max, is it Borgie? Is it Borgie? Like, how do we pronounce it? Because we pronounce it in different ways, and so I feel like which way am I doing it wrong? It doesn't matter to me. I mean, the guy's just electric. He's phenomenal. You can't stop him. Kirkland is turning into just a highlight reel when it comes to catching the ball. I mean, you just wonder how much better is he going to be able to find the ball, catch the ball. And if I'm not mistaken, they've got a bunch of Harrises that on this team. It's like, okay, so they got a Harris on offense that can catch the ball. It's really good. They got a Harris on defense that can intercept the ball, catch the ball, and is really good. So, yeah, I mean, what do you say? These guys just they keep coming after you, and don't let up on defense, on offense. They keep coming after you. Don't let up. And when you think that you've got Kirkland covered, you've got Borgie covered up. You've got Bird and Burnett coming out after you. I mean, they've got weapon after weapon after weapon. I could go on, but yeah, it would be super exhaustive. And you guys understand what I'm saying. The reality of it is the Brahmas ran into, the real king of the hill there in the South, who is the king of Texas right now, and it's the Roughnecks, and they are the team to beat in this league. And right now they're doing pretty much whatever they want. They're taking all of the punches and they're punching back. They're a fun team to watch right now. I think that the sky's the limit. They legitimately, if something just tragic doesn't happen to this team, like a big injury that takes, one of their key pieces out, or if, they just for some reason lose something in their psyche, this team's going to go 10-0 and win the championship. I mean, that's just how good they are right now. So that, nothing against the Brahmas. I think the Brahmas are a good team, but they're obviously by the stats and the way that you see things, they are just no match for this team. I mean, in all aspects of the game, it's insane, just what they're doing here. So, that's kind of my thoughts here. They just have some real studs, and Wade Phillips knows what he's doing. And it's really cool to watch Wade Phillips interact with. And I know here I am talking about something that I'm not a huge fan of in the game, but I like it a little bit. I complain more about it just because I don't like all of the distractiveness of all of the different things going on at once. I kind of want to be able to just focus on the field and then have somebody commentating or just kind of telling me or narrating, or maybe one person talking as opposed to a bunch of different people. But as I'm watching Wade Phillips coach up these young coaches, the coach is like, "Whoa, coach, what about we do this?" And he's like, no, just settle down. Just go get this. Just do this. And I love his ability to just take the moment and use them as teachable moments and opportunities to coach and, to show the younger guys what they need to do and to lead them, which is going to bode really well for them. All of these guys that are on his staff right now are going to go off and they're going to extend their careers and they're going to take it to new heights, because they learned from him on this team. So it's exciting to see what's going to happen with this team. All in all, it was a great week. I thought it was fantastic. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a solid A all day long, probably like a 94%. If I was giving it a test score, excellent. It was really good football. I'm excited for next week. Hopefully you are. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. What grade would you give it for this week, for week number 3? Let me know and we'll continue the conversation on down there. All right, listen, guys, I know that you're busy and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.